This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Have you been struggling lately? Maybe you're having trouble sleeping, difficulty with the relationship, or just suffering from self doubt. Now, y'all know there's no shame in my game, and life has been lifing lately. Trying to manage the priorities of being a wife, mom, friend, and full time entrepreneur, it can get overwhelming. If this sounds like you, then BetterHelp wants to help you today. BetterHelp offers licensed therapists who are trained to listen and help you. Talk to a therapist in a private online environment at your convenience. There are over 20,000 therapists in BetterHelp's network, which gives you access to help that may not be available in your area. All you have to do is fill out a questionnaire to assess your specific needs, and then you get matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. How cool is that? Then you schedule secure video and phone sessions. Plus, you can exchange unlimited messages, and everything you share is completely confidential. You can also request a new therapist anytime at no additional charge. Join the 2 million plus people who have taken charge of their mental health with an experienced therapist from BetterHelp. There's a special offer to the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast listeners. You get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/slang. That's betterhelp, HELP.com/slang, SLAYING. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast. You're listening to the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast with Coach Felicia, where we empower Black women to overcome their doubts, fears, and insecurities in order to give birth to their God-given purpose. Join me and sometimes some of my friends on our journey as we remind you that you are not alone. I'm Felicia Wallace, and together we will find our fears and slay them. Hey Slayers, welcome back to another episode of the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast. I am here with Candice Denise. Y'all may know her as Candice Denise off of Instagram because that's how I know her. Candice, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, you are so welcome. So y'all know I always start with like how I find people or how we get connected. So I don't have a problem with saying people that I admit stalking people online, right? Like if it's something that I'm just like picking up their energy, like I love what you're sharing. And so I think I saw one video from you in your car, and I always do this. Like I wish I could remember and so that I could pull it up. But anyway, I was like, man, this is so right on. And then it was like another thing kind of popped up. And then I was just like, okay, I'm gonna just have to follow her because I feel like she's talking directly to me. That's how I was feeling. And so I'm always like, when that type of transaction happens through social media, I'm like, okay, no, we need to have a conversation. And then once, I pitched and she said, yeah, then I realized she's in Maryland now. I do know that Baltimore is different from PG County, but we're neighbors by like an hour, right? And so then I'm like, oh, she from the home state too? Like, we definitely got to do this. So again, thank you so much, Candice, for joining us. Before we get started into all the things that you do and sharing the insights that you pretty much helped me with while watching you via Instagram, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started?
Yeah. So again, thank you for having me. It's so exciting to always connect with people from the home area. So I appreciate it. My backstory is one of those stories that I always tell people like crooked paths still get you straight to where you need to be type of thing, right? And
Amen to
so I
that.
feel like my life has kind of taken a lot of just crooked paths. And crooked doesn't mean bad, just means like not what the plan in my head would have been. And so,
Correct.
you know, graduating from college, you think you're going to graduate and you're going to get out here and you're going to find like your stellar job and this is going to be it, right? And that didn't necessarily happen. And so um, I had to take on a few different opportunities just to kind of figure out what it was that I liked. And
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that, I did not know that early on. I think I liked what I thought I was supposed to, what I was good at, right? So in school, I
Yeah.
studied general science with a concentration in biology, and that's what I got my degree in because I'm like, I'm supposed to be a doctor, right? These are things
Right.
that you're told for, far from what I am today.
Yes, yes.
Of self-care in my own way.
I
But
know that's right.
um,
Yes.
yeah, right. I became a doctor of self-care. But, after taking these different opportunities and jobs, I got into like project management. I landed there and I realized, I'm good at managing projects, but that's just
Mm-hmm.
because part of me has this level of like OCD, right? Like
Right.
details are important to me.
Yeah.
And so just in life. And so I moved from there into event planning. I went to like this networking opportunity and met with an event planner. And I was just like, I would love to talk to you about this because this feels like something I would be interested in. Interned there for some time. I was like, you know what? I want to start my own event planning business. Moved into, so that was like my first step into entrepreneurship.
Oh,
Not really
nice.
knowing what that meant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just like, okay, I want to start this venture. And so at the time, who was my mentor, she became my business partner. And so we started this event planning company together, and it was awesome, had a lot of success with it. And then after about 11 years, I was ready to transition. In that process of ready to transition, I realized I was like burning out. I was
Mm.
stressed because
Mhm.
what was happening was that I was hired to take on other people's stress. But it was like, what are you doing with your own?
Right,
And
right.
so started learning that I had to take better care of myself. And so therefore, that's kind of where the first steps of paying attention to how I'm taking care of me began.
Yeah.
Just my own self-care journey back then. And so from there, it moved into like self-love and exploring that about myself, because I was dealing with couples and love, right? And
Mm-hmm,
so what
mm-hmm.
does that look like about myself with love? And so it just really took me on this self-reflection journey in my event planning career. From that, I felt like this pivot. And I always tell people like I feel like I'm the queen of pivots. And so when my energy feels like something's
Something
shifting,
ain't
this
right.
doesn't
The
feel
curl
like
not curling
something's
quite
right.
right.
Yeah, something needs to change again. And so I changed and I took my skill sets from event planning and I applied them into creative directing brand photo shoots
Oh,
for female
wow.
entrepreneurs.
Okay.
So same
Oh, you
script,
really
different
have,
cast.
and you really have done it all.
Oh yeah, like my
Yes.
life literally is a one path that changed that went here.
Yeah.
That I did not plan for. And so working with those women, I realized, as I'm planning their photo shoots, I went from planning events to planning photo shoots now. And I realized I would talk to them and they would tell me how successful their business was, but I was like, how are you?
Mm,
And so
mm.
it made me recognize, okay, it's not just me that was in a process of, or in a place where I wasn't taking care of myself as an entrepreneur. These other female entrepreneurs aren't doing the same. And
Yeah.
so it was like, I feel like there's something else bigger happening.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that's what pivoted me into where I am today as this self-care expert. I decided to take what I learned in my own journey, what I, studied, learned, experienced from myself, from others, and start helping others in their self-care journey.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got here in the long short of it.
No, that's good though. So two things popped into my mind as you were talking. The first thing was like it was right on time for you when you recognized it, but for us, I'm speaking really for myself, y'all, but it's right on time for us right now who are currently experiencing burnout, right? Like collectively as a whole, we all are experiencing it. And so it was refreshing to see it and be like, dang, there's a way that you do this without like trying to figure it out. Cause I think for so long, like when something isn't quite right, we don't talk to nobody else about it, right? So it's just
Yep.
our thing. And so we trying to figure out like how do I, you know, everybody was using, I'm using my air quotes, people, balance, right? Like how do you balance, being a
Yeah.
mom and being working, and if you are an entrepreneur, or if you are, married, or your friends, being a sister, like all these different roles and titles that we have, how do you manage it? Like where do you fall in, right? And then
Mhm.
you're trying to figure it out, but like it's the doing that just kind of takes over. And then there's that guilt of like, well, if I take time for me, then that means someone else doesn't. And I think we all were, I always say like our generation just kind of all learned together. Like we like re-raising ourselves, like this don't seem right. Like I don't, why are we still doing this, And so when I started to see your stuff come up, it was like right on, because I was in that process too. Because even with this whole, slaying self-doubt journey, there's a lot of self-care that comes into that too, because the self-doubt is you talking negatively to yourself. So you have to reframe what it is that you're saying and advocating for why do I think this way? What are the things that come up for me that are, you know, that's like that inner struggle. So you
Mhm.
having, I always say, like, when we don't know why we go through the things we go through until we
Yeah.
see like the fruits of whatever it is. Like, you had to go through that journey before us so that you could help us, right? So thank you for your yes,
Mhm.
right? Like, I just want to thank you for really just tapping into that, because it's helpful to all of us who are still trying to figure it out. Like, I learned even from watching you, like, self-care wasn't just like going to the spa, right? Like, it really started with like yourself, like how you were loving yourself, how you were taking care, how you were talking to yourself. And I'm just like, oh, so I don't have to go to Jamaica to get self.
Right. Not at all.
So it was
I
like,
think
what?
you,
Go ahead.
no, sorry. No, go ahead.
No, I'm saying, so it's definitely one of those things where I was just like, this is exactly what I need for my life at this time. So that's, I really just wanted to tell you thank you. And hearing your journey, you were in the type of titles and jobs that you took were high stress. Like you said, you took on other people's stress as an event coordinator, even though you're very detailed and you like all of those things. People give that to you, right? Like, as a bride, I was like, you, that's your problem. That's not mine, right? Like, I got to worry about this part. I don't care how this. Just make sure it turned out the way I want it to turn out, right?
Right.
But you, like you said, like, people just dump stuff on you. You carrying around people book bags, and then you just move on to the next thing, and you move on, and so you don't realize you're collecting all of these bricks for everybody else. And like you said, what are you doing for yourself? So, um you were about to say something before I asked this question.
No, just really kind of confirming things that you're already saying and, just saying you're right as far as feeling like you have to leave a lot of times. I think one of the biggest things I hope in this journey of my career or my purpose driven, as I feel like, kind of career, that people take away just a new understanding of self-care. I always hope, if you learn nothing else, that I hope that I've been able to use my voice, my experiences, my stories, to help people understand that self-care, at least in my definition of it, really is about the small steps that you take
Yeah.
every day to help you to manage and take care of you.
Yeah.
Um, and so
Well,
that small step is me. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, yeah, for me, you definitely have. So it is working.
Okay.
It definitely is working.
Okay. But that's
So
mission
my
accomplished.
Yeah, so I that's why I said I want to thank you for your yes. I think I'm grateful that God gave me this platform to be able to have people on, because I think a lot of times, even for myself in doing this, like, not knowing, like, is it even making a difference? Like, who is listening to me? Like, I'm making these videos, and of course I have these, you know, you get these likes and you get this, that, and third, and people dropping your comments and all the hearts. But who am I impacting, right? I had someone else on the show one time that said, I'm not here to influence, I'm here to impact. And I think that when you are purposeful in what it is that you're doing, you recognize that what I'm trying to do is make an impact for change, right? So that whatever you take on, that what I'm saying, you are actively doing something differently in your life. And I think that that's kind of what sets you apart as well. Like, you give very practical tips of like what you need to do in the process, versus like we see all the time, like, you just need to do this, and it's like, but how? Like, if I don't know, how do I do it? I just think this is, y'all already know I be random, so excuse me in advance for all of the random thoughts that pop into my head. But I think one of the biggest things that I love about what you do is the fact that you're actually talking in the car majority of the time, because that's where we spend our time, specifically as women. Like, and I'm like, I talk to myself in the car. So for me, this different. Like, it was just something about it. It just was like the fact that you're in that space just made it so much more comfortable, because sometimes that's where we're getting these light bulbs. That's where we're getting these revelations, with these ideas, with these thoughts. It's like, dang, I'm really out here being somebody's mother for, like, 17 years. And then you're like, I'm really supposed to be working for this, that, and that. Like, these are the thoughts that we're having when we're in this alone time. So I think it's, to me, how I
Yeah.
look at it is like you're in my safe space. So that's why I feel like this is the place that I spend a lot of time with my thoughts. And so being in the car and then like talking back to me, it's like you sitting right next to me, like, yep, girl, yeah, you right. You
I love that. That just literally made me so happy to hear because it was so not planned. It really became something personal for me because at the time when I started recording in the car, I had some things I was navigating personally, just doing. I was so
mm-hmm.
it caused me to have in my car a lot.
Yeah.
And I realized I still, I'm a content creator, but I do not have the ability to uh, always be home and recording and set up and all of those things. And so I was like, and I'm also not going to stress myself behind trying to do it. And so I need to figure out a way that aligns with where I am currently
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
also so I decided to make, as I call it, my mobile car studio. And so, set up whatever needed to be set up in there. And so whenever I need to record, I can. And it just became this thing. And so it's funny that you say that because so many people identify with these car messages. And so
Mm-hmm.
hearing why that connects is like really, it's really just kind of amazing how things always line up. Like it was meant
Yeah.
to happen that way.
Yeah. That's why I said if when you're on your I was just watching a sermon, like if you're in your lane and you do what it is that's
Mhm.
comfortable for you and you are not trying to do it to please other people, just like your people will find you and the things that resonate with them will connect automatically without you even having to make any effort whatsoever. So like I said, I'd be like, that'd be me. So the question I was going to ask is how has self-doubt showed up in your journey?
Oh my gosh, how has it not? It's probably a bigger question, right? And I say that because I talk a lot about navigating fear.
Mm-hmm.
I think, self-doubt also comes in the form of fear. And so that's where sometimes the underlined is that I'm doubting myself because I'm fearful of the outcome. I'm
Yes.
fearful of what may happen, what may not happen. And so I feel like the self-doubt is just um, a derivative of the fear, right? Like of
Mm-hmm.
what's actually what's lying beneath. And so the reason I said where have I not, because in many things in my life I have it's shown up, in
Mm-hmm.
decisions that I've had to make in my business, in changing from one career lane to another,
Yeah.
um, not knowing what that was going to look like on the other end. Am I able to do this? Becoming a self-care expert, like literally moving into this space without there's no licensure that
Correct.
makes you a self-care expert, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
no
Mm-hmm.
certificate. And so although I have degrees, I don't have a degree in this. And
Right.
so is someone going to take me as a expert in this? Are they going to look at me and think that what I'm saying um, is something that they can learn from, or
Yeah.
so you doubt yourself. And I know that that comes from a place of fear. And so I had to get to a place where I understood that instead of always trying to get rid of the fear or the doubt,
Mm-hmm.
how do I navigate it? How do I manage it? And for me, it becomes one of those things where I verbally just say, okay, I see fear that you decided to ride with me today. And
Yeah.
so instead of you being in the driver's seat, you're just going to have to get in the passenger seat, right? But we're
Right.
going to have to do this thing and do it afraid because
Mm-hmm.
most things have shown me that even when I did do it, it still panned out to work out for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Even as something as simple as starting to record in my car. Are people going to take me as serious if I'm recording in my car? Are they going to think this is professional? Are they
Mm-hmm.
going to think
Mm-hmm.
this is something an expert should be doing? And then hearing your story and many others who are like, those are some of the I guess content pieces of mine that have done the most impact for
Mm-hmm.
people. And so I think it becomes a matter of understanding where your doubt is lying, like what is beneath. And so I knew that my doubt was rooted in fear
Yeah.
most times. And so how do I either am I going to try to get rid of it? But fear is a part of life. So how do I actually get rid of it, right? It's like stress.
Mm-hmm.
Stress is a part
Mm-hmm.
of life. It's not about trying to get rid of it. How do I manage it? And
Yeah.
so I had to realize, how do I manage the fear? And so for me, it is okay, today you can ride, but I'm taking the driver's seat. So you're gonna have to sit over here, but we're going to this destination
Yeah.
one way
Yeah.
or not, right? Whether my palms are sweaty, I'm gripping the steering wheel, but we're gonna get there. And
Yeah.
so it has shown up everywhere. Every time I make any type of decision that I am unsure of and that causes me a level of fear, it shows up.
Yeah, that I understand that. And I mean, another sidebar, I'm telling you, just this is just how I am, right? Your
It's
voice is so calming, right? Like I'm over here like I can listen to her talk all day. And your energy is so like, and for me, right? Like even what you're saying about fear, just it underlining in that for me, I always say slaying self-doubt is personal to me because it is me, right? Every time I show up, you're witnessing me slaying my self-doubt. It's an action that I'm doing. And even 200 episodes later, even in interviewing new people or recording, I still have a level of uncertainty. Like, is this going to go well? Is this conversation, are they going to, like, am I going to be able to pull all the, am I going to remember the, even though I have the questions written down, am I going to remember to ask the questions? But I think that as you were talking to me, I was like, you know what? She's so right. Like we're just gonna. It was just very calming to listen. So that was just very random,
okay.
but I just wanted to let you know that. Um,
It was not. It was.
but to your point, you're right. Like you have to be able to figure out how to manage the fear because it's going to come. And I think that for me, when I started this journey, I went into it thinking like slaying was going to be slayed, right? Like it wasn't ever going to come back. And that's not the thing, right? It took me a couple of years for it to hit like, oh no, like every time you do something, it's going to come up. That self doubt is possible, could possibly creep back up. And whatever you need to do, everybody has these different things. So, what are some practical tips that you could give our listeners to when that doubt or that fear comes up to be able to like get to that point where they say, "Child, we still going." Like I don't know what you doing, but we still
Yeah.
going.
So great question. I think for me, some of the things that I would share, and I tend to share things that I actually utilize, right? Because I don't know it if I'm either not using it or I've heard other people say that this is something that they're using. So for me, I realize that self-doubt is about the thoughts that we're having,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the thoughts are about mindset. And mindset is a muscle. And so
Mm.
if you don't work out that muscle and get it in shape, it will be out of shape.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's about how do I get it in shape on a daily basis, right? Like it's the same way people go to the gym on a daily basis because they want to work out their legs or they want to work out their arms. Well, that's a muscle as well that we have to
Mm.
work out. And so what are you feeding your mind? So practical
Mm.
things are, what are you listening to? Podcasts, right? About slaying self-doubt. Are you
Yeah.
consistently taking in these notes? And so therefore, when that doubt is coming in, you are counter reacting it with something that is kind of fighting the doubt, right? So you're
Yeah.
not letting doubt be the loudest voice. You're letting these other things that are feeding you versus taking away from you be the louder voices.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
podcasts that help you with self-doubt. Reading, I'm a big Audible book person, so versus I don't always feel like I have necessarily quote unquote the time, right, to
Right.
read. So I try to listen to air quotes. I try to listen to Audible books because I can do that in the car. So if I'm on my way to a meeting, I can listen to something about doubt that's going
Mm-hmm.
to help me not feel so doubtful
Yeah.
going into this. It's really about how are you arming yourself and equipping yourself to work through the doubt. So what are you listening to? What are you watching? What are books that you can be listening to, podcast, things that you can be watching, whether it's stories about how people worked through their own doubt and they came in on the or they came out on the other side. Those
Yeah.
things, whether we know it or not, are feeding us and they give you this confidence, they give you
Mm-hmm.
this esteem that you didn't realize actually is there just by listening to something that is greater than the voice that's trying to tell you this doubt. So those are like really just practical, things that I would say, but also, you know, I'm a fan of recording like voice notes. And so I will record voice notes of my own self telling myself the opposite of what the doubt is saying. And
Ooh.
so that doubt is happening, I can play it, right? And so if the doubt is trying to tell me this venture is not going to be successful, it's not going to work out. And so I record something saying, Candice, I'm so proud of you. It's amazing how this all worked out, even when you didn't realize it was going to work out, right?
Yeah.
You let the fear stop you. And so playing that and playing it on repeat. There's an app that I use. This is not a paid partnership, it's just an app, but it's called Parrot, like the animal. And
Okay.
so you can download it for free and it allows you to do voice recordings. The nice thing is that you can loop it. So you can press it for how long you want it to keep
Oh,
looping.
okay. Yeah, yeah.
So versus recording on your phone where you have to keep hitting
Mm-hmm,
play,
mm-hmm.
this says like 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. Sometimes I fall asleep to it so that I am literally feeding this mind. I'm working it out so
Mm.
that I am slaying the self-doubt, so to speak.
Yeah. Man, okay. Yep. So the first thing is that nope, I'm gonna go backwards. Because the
Okay.
parrot thing was definitely the first thing that came up for me is that it's important to hear the affirmation in your own voice, right? Because it's your voice. I did this program one time where we were trying to figure out like what is your saboteur, right? So saboteur, self-doubt kind of are the same thing. But they were very specific about like what does the voice sound like? Like
Mm,
how loud is it, how quiet is it a man's voice, is it a female's voice, right? And so we like that was so it was deep, people as they
yeah.
were sharing, but as I was trying to figure out like, well, whose voice is it, and I realized it was mine, right? And so even though it was a softer kind of whisper, right? Just like a very whisper, but it was like my voice. It's not anybody else's voice. It's me. And so that practice of hearing your own self back, like it's almost like that the memes that used to go around with Kermit the Frog, right? With the hoodie on one side and like the good and the bad, right? But it's like this if you're hearing your voice repeatedly tell you the opposite of
Mhm.
what you are saying to yourself, because it's all you, right? I recognize the power in that, and so that right there just it gave me kind of goosebumps, because I was like, yeah, like for me, one of the things I do, and I share this with a lot of people, is like I keep a wind wall. It took me a while to get to this point, but it's almost like keeping track of my wins. And so depending on what it is, I don't care what it has to do with, big or small. Like I had shared the early part of this year for the first time ever, I created a budget, right? That was a big deal for me because it's something I've never done. It was something I was afraid of doing. It went on my wall because I needed to remind myself that, girl, you can do hard things. Like, because nobody else told me I couldn't. It was me saying all of those things. And so, but I like that kind of looping, especially when big things are happening. The other thing that, in regards to the what you're listening to, what you're watching, I saw something about the things that we want. You have the decision to either feed or starve something, right? And so what are you choosing to feed? And that you saying those things like what you're listening to, what you are intaking determines what's going to get bigger. So whatever you feed just grows larger. The thing that you starve will shrink. And so we're not saying that your self-doubt is going to go away, because I'm very clear that every level that you keep going up, something in you is gonna be like, now how we get here, and and what I'm supposed to do
Yep.
while I'm up here, right? And so it's not that, but it's for you to be able to take these things with you and not get stuck, because
Yeah.
I believe that self-doubt for me anyway has kept me stuck in so many areas because it took me entirely too long to get past myself to be able to be like, girl, what are you doing? We absolutely can do this because of X, Y, and Z, but these are these practical tips. And one of music, right? Like it depends on, I was telling my son the other day, he swims, and so he was just saying that this last meet that he didn't do very well. And so I was just like, what are you doing, what are you listening to before you, like, what are you saying
Hmm.
to yourself before you get started? And like, I don't know. I said, well, this is just an advice. You don't have to take it, but I'm just going to suggest it to you. I said, you know how if you watch like football or basketball, you see them in the locker room and they're listening to music to hype them up. I was like, you have to figure out what is going to give you the confidence to go into this space and believe that you're going to be able to do your best. I said, for me, sometimes it's worship music. Sometimes I just need worship. And sometimes I don't know, I need Jeezy. Like it depends on how I'm feeling in that moment. Like I may need to borrow what you said, like borrow somebody's confidence and be like, you know what? Me and Mary J about to go in here. and I'm about to in this dancery, okay? Because that's what's about to happen. I'm about to hit you with the Mary boots, and we're gonna be all right. But that is whatever's gonna get me to the end, right? And
Yeah.
get me through that thing, I need to be able to do that. And so those are the things I told you I'm random, but those are the things that popped into my head that really were like, you have to be able to do practical things on a daily basis because you never know
Yeah.
when the self-doubt is going to show up. You don't know how it's going to hit you, but you have to be able to have tools to be able to like, not today. We're not doing
Yeah.
this. We walking into this meeting and it's going to be successful. We're walking into this event and I'm going to kill it. We going to do this podcast and it's going to be great. We're going to, show up to this assignment, whatever the thing is, and we going to handle it. And that's going to be that.
Oh, it absolutely is. And the thing is, like, two things you were just saying as far as like having this this merry dancery, right? Like
Yeah.
amping yourself up. It's really creating your own kind of winner's routine, right?
Mhm.
What is your winner's routine? What is your winner's anthem? Like, and not just even in a song, but like what is the method that you go through to to proclaim that win that you're trying to get? So
Mm.
how do you lead up to it? Like what's your how we have morning routines so that we
Yeah.
can go out and have a successful morning or day, right? How do we have an evening routine? What's your winner's routine? And so if you know you're going into something that requires you or not even requires, but that you desire to win from.
Yeah.
How are you doing that? And I remember when you were talking about swimming, I think the last like meet that Michael Phelps was in, um, proud Baltimorean, and he got out, but he was showing, I think they were doing like a backstory and what his process was before he
Mhm.
started swimming. And so he showed, like the exercises he was doing. This is literally like before he got in the water, not like weeks up. This is like the day of the moments before he's
Yeah.
about to compete. Then he's sitting there, and I think he has like where he doesn't want to sit with anyone. So like no one can sit next to him on the side and the front. Like he has this process. And so what is your winner's routine? What is your winner's process? And so that's not just for your son, that's for any of us who are
Yeah.
out here trying to lay self-doubt. What is it that you do that you've created that helps you to keep yourself mentally, emotionally, stable
Mhm.
so that you can be able to navigate it, so that you can
Yeah.
get through it. The other thing that you were saying about your win wall, which I love, I have what's called a remember win box. And so, sort of the same concept, it's just twofold for me. It's win, WIN, and it's win, WHEN, because
Mm.
sometimes I remember my wins, but also I need to remember win, moments that I've overcome, things that I've
Yes.
gotten through, things that I navigated. Even if I didn't come out as a quote unquote winner, I still won in a way. And so I
Yeah.
need to remember you navigated that big circumstance in life, but you were able. So maybe there's a napkin from that moment, and it has a restaurant name on it. And I remember at that restaurant sitting and having a conversation with someone that wasn't easy, but I was
Mhm.
able to navigate. So that goes into the remember win box because to your point, we need to see it. We need to remind ourselves, not just through the lens of others, but through our own lens. And
Yeah.
sometimes we're so focused on trying to navigate the doubt that is present that we forget that we've been able to navigate doubt that is past.
Yeah, yeah, that is that. Yeah, so I call that running your track record, right? As I say, Jesus is my homeboy. There's oftentimes where I have to run God's track record over my life, right? And I have to be able to say that there's some things that I prayed for and it happened or it didn't happen. He answered some stuff and thank you that you didn't, right? But then I also have to run my own track record and I have to be like, um I remember when I first started slaying self-doubt and I would always say I'm just not creative. I would see all of these different things and I'd be like, I do not have like what is going on, right? But then I was having a conversation with my husband and he was just like, you do all the kids science projects. Like, and I was just like, you know what? You're right. Even though I be going on Pinterest, like it don't look exactly the same, but we create that thing. And so then I had to change the way I my words to myself. And I still have this thing. I'm going to show you guys who are watching on YouTube. So when I first started, I had an assignment from the coaching class that I went to. Well, I had to ask, um, you had to ask like 15 people, but I asked way more than that. But it's this little sheet of paper that I kept. It was three adjectives or attributes that describe me. And I
Okay.
had to get it from other people. And so I was like, people think I'm outspoken. Oh, people think like five people thought I was creative, right? And so it was one of these things of people see you before you see yourself, but also that remember when is that there are things that have happened in your life that speaks to who you are today. It may not look exactly the same, right? Like even in the creative space, right? I'm like, I created two human beings. That's a big deal, right? Like that is something that is
Yeah.
something now, that I'm gonna count that, right? At the end of the day, that's what it's going to be. And so there's different things. It's like you're creative when you cook. You're creative when you do, so many different things. So don't just narrow it down to this one thing because you can't figure out how to work Canva. Like that's what it was. It was because I can't figure out what font to use with the color or whatever have you. And now, I'm a beast at Canva. So but some of it just took practice, right? Like, no, I'm not an expert at Canva, but I do what needs to get done to get it done. Okay, done is better than perfect, so I'm gonna do what I need to do. But I love that running your track record because you have to
Mm.
combat that doubt with previous things that you went through so that you know that you have the strength to go through this, right? And I think that even in talking about self-care and advocating for yourself, like there's so many ways, like tiny ways we were doing things that we don't realize that, oh, that is a form of self-care or that is a form of, loving myself or whatever. It didn't look like it like that because that wasn't the name for it or whatever have you. But we kind of we're doing certain things, the things that you could be currently saying, I don't have this or I don't have the capabilities. You probably already don't. I believe that all the things, this little, wherever we are right now, there are little things that led us up to this point. So nothing's by accident. Nothing is by like, well, I just happened to fall. I have it that throughout your life, you've probably been doing the exact same thing you're doing right now. This is just you focusing on it. So Candice, what have you learned about yourself during this journey that you didn't know before?
Mm. I feel like I say the same thing for every response, but I'm like, what have I not learned? There's so we don't have enough time. I think one of the biggest things that I've learned is this level of resilience
Mhm.
that, you hear the word resilient, um, but you don't always realize that you are, right? And I don't say that like strong. I
Mhm.
don't think that
Mhm.
because I'm not necessarily strong. I think people will assume certain things, maybe the tone of your voice or your action, and they just assume. So I have, strong moments like anybody else, but I don't live in the strong lane.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I do realize I am a person who lives in a resilient lane. And it's like a boxers in a ring,
Mhm.
that boxer that you're like, man, they are still going. Like
Yeah.
he is, getting just the whooping of what like being beat down.
Mhm.
He has been down, but I mean, we're almost at the 12th round. And literally, why does he keep getting up? Like,
Right.
why don't he give up already? Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have those conversations even with myself. It's like, why won't I just give up already?
Mm.
And it reminded me, like when you said that, I've recently had this conversation with myself where it was like, because you can't,
Mm.
because it's literally not in you to do. Because I actually want to give up, but I'm like that boxer that even when I'm down, whether I'm slowly getting back up,
Yeah.
doesn't mean I'm always getting up, unbruised, unscathed, all these
Mhm.
things,
Mhm.
but I'm up. And so I've learned that about myself that I have the ability to get up even when I am knocked down and I should stay down.
Yeah.
And I have to realize that that is a gift. And I don't think I always saw it that way because I don't realize it until now when I'm having conversations with people when so many people are like, I'm stuck. I don't know how to get out. I don't know how to get back up or whatever have you. And I'm like, I'm not necessarily saying I knew how, but I just did.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I just even I didn't know what was going to happen, right? Even when I get up, I don't know if I'm getting knocked right back down.
Right.
So I think I've learned that really about myself, that my resilience is a gift for me.
Yeah. No, that is good. I think that a lot of us specifically as Black women are trying to get away from using the word strong. So I understood exactly what you meant, because strength, like outside of us, means like just throw the whole kitchen sink at, and then you just supposed to take it. It's not what we don't want that. Okay. I don't want to wear the S on my chest. Okay. I'm okay. Right.
It's
But I think resilience is different, right? It's purposeful, right? Like I think that it's a space where you, like you said, exactly what you said. Like, I don't want to get up, but I have to, right? When you know that there's something greater than you, something bigger than you, there are people like depending on you being resilient, right? Now I do believe in taking breaks. I do believe in, child, if I need to lay down, leave me alone. Okay. Like I don't, sometimes I don't have it, right? I don't got to give and get somebody else to do it, and that's okay. But I also believe that if you know within you that this is bigger than you, and I can tell from you, and like, you know that what you're doing has a greater purpose. Like, you can't stay down, right? Like, our I say often that our obedience is connected to somebody else, and so I'm very aware for myself that, like, I can't quit even if I wanted to. Like, I said yes to this because somebody is waiting on it. Like, somebody is waiting for whatever it is that's supposed to come through me, that's supposed to go to them. And I recognize it's a heavy assignment to carry. And at the same time, it don't feel that heavy, which is weird. Like, it doesn't, if you know, you know. That's all I that's all I can say. It's like, if you know, you know, like it can be heavy, but at the same time, like when you do it, like, you know that you are operating in a space that is meant specifically for you. And so it doesn't feel like the work that it takes to get it done. And so I know exactly what you mean when you're saying like being resilient for me, um, for yourself is a gift, because it is, because everybody can't. And we witness that all the time where people just be like, you know what? No, this is it. I'm not coming back. I'm not doing it. Just close it, shut it down. Whatever that thing is, that the spirit of giving up, right? And I think that, um, like you said, like, not being able to do it for yourself allows other people to believe that they can do it for themselves. And so sometimes if we have to be the example, we just be like, well, all right, I guess if it's got to be me.
I guess so, right? Like I'm the one. And no, again, it's not even one of those humble brags. It's just really I came to a self-realization to be like, do you understand that whatever the inner voice or that thing, like not everybody is able to tap into that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, um, do you know that you have a gift in that? Do you understand that? And I think I did not realize it, right? And to your point about taking breaks, absolutely, which is why I said like, there's no fast pace in the getting up, right? Pace yourself, don't race yourself,
Yeah.
is what I tell people. So, um, I think people sometimes will hear resilience and think that you pop right back up. Like, no, it might be, um, I, a season of stillness. Like last year, 2023 was a complete season of stillness for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was a mandate that I felt like was put into my spirit, from our creator to be still. And
Yeah.
in ways that people don't know that I had to be still. And so even though you see me moving, right, and doing, but there was still a level of stillness that had to happen and came
Yeah.
with it. And that stillness was a part of, so to speak, the analogy with the boxer laying down, not getting up yet.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so that's the resilience. I think people automatically assume resilience means pop up. No,
Yeah.
resilience means that you're able to just get back up.
Yeah.
Whenever
Yeah.
that's supposed to, you do.
Mm-hmm. No, that and I'm a very visual person, and so it may, as you were describing, it was like is when you like there's a difference between like being knocked out, right? And being down. And I think that it's not what you're saying is that it's not a knockout, right? I'm just down. Maybe they need to count to 30 or something. And then you see that arm come up and you're like, well, he on his way up. He was like, I just need to take this
Right.
breather. Yeah, I got 30
Maybe I
seconds.
got 30. I got 30 seconds. I got 30 days. I got 3 months. I
Mm-hmm.
got 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
And so um, that's the part that I want people to understand. I think we think we're not resilient because we didn't automatically pop up.
Yeah, yeah,
You don't have resilience because you didn't automatically, as soon as you got knocked down, you got right back up. No,
yeah.
it's okay. I have a post that I shared about my friends, and I say it and I do my best not to get choked up when I talk about it because it's so very real. But um, having cave dwellers, was what is has been one of the biggest things in my life. Having those friends that will come into the caves with
Mm-hmm.
you,
Mm-hmm.
sit there, and are not trying to drag you out, because they understand that you know how to come out.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not a I know how. It's just not ready for me. It's not time for me to.
Mm-hmm.
And so having those people that are like, well, while you're here, I'll be here with you. I'll
Yeah.
sit there with and it doesn't mean they're feeding into it. They're enabling it. They're saying, I'll sit here, meaning I'll pray. I will be quiet. I will eat with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it's just
Mm-hmm.
a matter of I'll show up with you and however I can support that while you navigate that place that you are. Because I think a lot of times people want to try to fix someone's brokenness. And the thing is you can't fix someone's broken places. All you can do is support them while they fix it themselves.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's sharing resources with them. Maybe that is, bringing their remember when box out and just letting them look at it, just saying, hey, remember this box, and that's that, just sitting it there in front of them,
Mm-hmm.
letting them
Mm-hmm.
look at it when they're ready. But all of those things have just reminded me that resilience doesn't have a timeline on it. It's just that you do know how to get up when that, when the bell is rung and you're supposed to.
Yeah, yeah. Man, that I love that. The cave dwellers, right? And not pushing people, right? I think that's something that I think it for a lot of people we've had to learn that, relearn that, right? Because I think so often it's quick to just be like, well, what you need? Like, tell me and let me just, we won't be fixers, right? Like, and I had to really get to a place to ask people, like, how can I support you? That is a different question, right? Like, it's like what you need is like, and I know people like, well, if I ask them what they need, like, but your idea of what they need is different, right? And so you have to ask people, how can I support you? Because first of all, every person isn't meant to support you in the exact same way, right? The people that you know that can come into that cave with you, that's not going to stress you out, those are the people you want to let in. Somebody else,
Right.
you can leave food at the door, right? Like, or you may have to say, I need time,
Yeah.
right? And I
Yeah.
need time and I need space and I will reach out when I'm ready. But I think that
That's
there's
right.
an importance in for ourselves instead of trying to fix it because one of the things that I am learning in, my bigger age is about releasing expectations, right? And so some a part of that resilience and some of that getting up and people wanting you is the expectation that you have to immediately get up. No, you don't. Sometimes you need to go through, right? I recently did a podcast episode about this quote I heard in a movie to say the only way out is through, right? We want to get to out so fast and we want everybody else to get to out so we can keep moving. I'm in a space now where I'm like, I'll go through. It's okay. First of all, I've been through enough times. I didn't even know that's what I was going through, right? But now I'm
Mhm.
choosing to just be okay in the throughness because this there is lessons in that. There's blessings in the through. I don't have to always be quick to get out. I'm all right. Like I'm all right. We'll
It's
figure out what's
so true.
happening right here in this space. Just me. We're gonna be right here. And when it's time for me to get out, I don't know. But if I'm fighting,
'Cause you're fighting, yeah, and you're right. Like, and you're not just going through places, you're growing through places as well,
yeah,
right? And
yeah.
so um, that's the part that we forget is that's how we don't repeat certain things because we didn't just go through it, we grew through it. And
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
I can go through it, right? But what are you doing while you go?
Yeah,
Are you
yeah.
allowing yourself to grow through it too? And so I often tell people I'm not just going somewhere, I'm actually growing through this. And that's why I said we don't have enough time. We don't
Mm-hmm.
have enough time
Mm-hmm.
on this podcast to
Listen.
sit here the number of things up until like 10 o'clock this morning.
Right,
Okay.
right, right,
That
right.
I'm learning about myself.
Listen, so
So,
that all listen, see, I already know when the Lord connects me with certain people, I'll be like, okay, I already know what this about to be. This about to be more than just this episode. So I've been over here like writing little tiny notes, like we're gonna live about that. So y'all stay tuned, okay? Because I can already tell you we about to have a conversation. Um,
okay.
and so but in honoring you all's time because I could keep going too, right? We're gonna get into your offerings and what it is CD Creative Loft Candice Denise really gives to the people. Y'all can already tell if you don't already know. First of all, she gonna give you calmness, okay? She gonna give you this energy that just is like I always talk about the fact I tell my family like I can't do 100. Like I just don't like the way it makes you feel on the inside. And so I'm like
Mhm.
I stay at like a 45, 50. So I don't even want to get to 60. We're talking to you. I'm like, I'm at a cool 25. This is, I might need to try this level down here. This is way over.
I- I'm laughing because I'm laughing for a multitude of reasons. One of them because my mother literally recently just joked me and was like, like it was so funny because I was talking, she was like, calm down. And I was like,
Lady, I'm
am
the
I
calmest
hype?
person you know.
I was like, if this is what is it that you need? Like, I mean, it was so funny that you say that. That's why I was
Yeah,
laughing. Like,
yeah.
thank you for saying it, a place of calm. Um, and here's what's funny because being from Baltimore, people are like there. I very much so am a Baltimorean true and through. I
Mm-hmm.
always tell people that I said I just have learned when we talk about managing your energy, I've just learned to manage it and only exude whatever needs to be exuded when it's
When it
time.
needs, right.
And that I
Yes.
try to, it's very seldom. So this is about self-preservation, which is why I've tried to actually keep myself calm. And because I talk a lot.
Self-preservation. Oh,
Mhm.
we're writing that down
This
too.
is
Go
about
ahead. Uh-huh.
self-preservation. No, no, you're fine because this calmness. And so it's like, how do I preserve myself more and not trying
Mm,
to work myself up? And so trying to speak here. I speak a lot, like I'm a talker. And so because I'm a talker, my thoughts run fast and I can talk fast if I go. So the calmness also is about making sure that I'm clear enough that I'm communicating with someone in a healthy way that they can at least understand me.
yeah,
So
yeah.
there's a lot of reasons for why I've shifted even more into this state. And it's a work, right? So I don't want
Mm-hmm.
people to think, I mean, I've never been a hyped up person, but this level was a work in
Yeah,
progress.
yeah.
As far as how people can work with me and, my offerings and things of that sort. Currently, I actually have shifted from doing one-on-one coaching. I had been, speaking of self-preservation and capacity, I just realized there's some other things that I am trying to do with this purpose that I feel like I've been given. And so I had to make space, right? Make room for those
Mm,
things. And
mm-hmm.
I had to look at the things that take the most of the room from me. And so as much as I love being able to have the one-on-one exchanges, I'm not doing coaching at the moment, but what I have done is started taking my expertise in different ways and putting it into digital products. So the
Nice.
best ways right now to connect with me and to work with me are to, work or to download or, grab my digital products. So whether that's my meditation, my guided meditation playlist that I've put together, whether that is my self-awareness course, my morning and evening routines, like these are things that I normally work with people to do. And so
Mm-hmm.
I've tried to put them digital products. So you can always go to the link in my bio, um, and grab any of these, to see what's being offered at the time. Does that
Yeah.
mean they change? Absolutely. But for, whatever's in there is what's being offered. So that's the best way to really kind of like um, work in a sense with me
Okay.
indirectly, but
Mm-hmm.
also through my content, I tell people. I feel like I give a lot in my content. And so
Agreed.
that I feel like that is a way, to start like just going through it. I tell people, please binge watch me.
Yeah.
I want to
Yes.
be when it comes to self-care. Binge watch me. I mean, I'm not creating this for just to be creating it.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
go binge it up, share it, make little notes, create your own folder, and build your own toolkit based off the content that I've given.
Yeah.
So those are like the biggest ways. Outside of that, of course, podcast opportunities and speaking. People can hire me and book me to come and speak. But those right now are the biggest places and ways that people can work with me.
I love it. I love it. One of the things that I was thinking about when you were sharing that was like um the self-regulation part is it hit me to my core because oftentimes I remember when I first started this, I did not realize how much, even though I told you my energy is at like 50, um,
Yeah,
how much energy it takes to put on a podcast, right? Like what it took out of me. Like people were like, "Oh, you just talking," and I say, "Yeah, but I have to bring my whole self. Like that's it's completely different." Like I learned like there was one day, a very early on. I probably did like 4 podcasts in one day, and I was like, absolutely never again. It's no way. I had like 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening, and I like it took me like 3 days to like read, and I could not understand what it was, and I was like, it's because you're like my capacity was beyond this limit. And so I've
yeah,
had to say, okay, I have to figure out what is the best day for me to do it and what time so I can, give my full self. Because once I do that, baby, I need to break for like 4 hours. So like after this, all right now, I'm gonna go take me a nap. I need to go lay down. I need to decompress because like you said, like you are talking, you're thinking, I'm trying to keep up with it at the same time, remember all the things, but also be engaged. Like you are like I'm at 120 right now, even though and I think people think your energy is like you gotta be loud and all of this. No, it's the awareness that I have to be about. Let me make sure I'm making eye contact, that I'm not, it's just so many different things that are happening that my body is in overload. And so I recognize that self-regulation. So on a regular basis, now I'm like, maybe I need to stay at 25, right? Like, so I can keep this because I know what it is that I do in my daily interactions with people. I may need to reduce the amount of time that I'm talking, that my husband a part
have
like
to.
that, but
You have to just be, self-preservation is a real thing. It's a big part of self-care. And that's really what self-care is. It's about preserving yourself for the long term, right? For
yeah.
the not just not the short term. Pampering, self-pampering is about short term. It's about,
Self-pampering. Okay, that's
fulfilling, yeah,
different.
self-pampering, which is manis and petties and massages. That is, you're going in one way and you're coming immediately out a different way, right?
Mm,
So I went in with feeling a level of stress. I get the massage, I come out feeling a less stressed, or,
yeah.
so I'm getting
Yeah.
a turnaround. So those are short-term kind of um like goals that are
Mm-hmm.
happening for
Mm-hmm.
you, that are taking place. So that's self-pampering, which is a part of self-care, but self-care overall is about self-preservation, which is the long term. And so how are you preserving, which is why I said it's about the small decisions that you make every day that
Yeah.
help you to manage and take care of you so that you can preserve yourself, right? For however long. So that's long term, which is why it's not as appealing to people. It's not as attractive to say, well, you may have to start implementing journaling every day
Mm-hmm.
to work through
Mm-hmm.
those thoughts because you want this quickness. Well, journaling is not going to give you the quickness maybe
Right.
that you're
You're
looking for.
right.
Whereas though, which is why we lean towards massages and manis and pedis and spa days and things because we can get an instant gratification
Instant
out of that.
gratification. Ooh,
Self-care
child.
takes work.
See, told y'all. Y'all be on the lookout, y'all. Be on the lookout because I'm telling you, we about to you about to see this collaboration again, okay? In a different space. But I these are things that we need to know, right? These are things that, like I said, I'm grateful that I'm able to use my platform in this space to be able to share, because I know for a fact that somebody who's listening to this episode right now that's like, I needed to hear this. I needed to know these different, I needed to know that the difference between self-pampering and the self-preservation, like what that looks like. Because if the world is telling me this is what it looks like, but then, this is a sidebar again, but I
Mhm.
can't afford to do these things, then I don't
That's
know how to self-care, right? Because you're looking at it that it has to be a certain type of way versus like taking the time to, like you said, to journal, taking the time to be still, which is, baby, that is a
it's
practice
a
that don't nobody want to do.
and I'm trying to tell you, you don't even want to, we don't have enough time again. But you're so right. Like people just, which is, I mean, I just posted something the other day about some self-care myths that I want us to get rid of. And one of those was self-care is expensive. Well, that's because you're hearing self-pampering and we're interchanging the word, right? And so we're
Mm-hmm.
not.
Mm-hmm.
Pampering can become expensive, but care is not. A walk is not expensive.
Mm.
A journaling, writing is not expensive. Drinking your water, staying hydrated is not expensive. Um, these are things that we're not clear about it, right? And I can't say I wasn't always, and so until getting into this space and
Yeah.
really deeper. But when you hear that, it will make you feel like I can't afford it or it doesn't work for me because like for me, for instance, I'd go to the nail salon. I am not I don't gain any kind of like I'm not that person who enjoys like going to
Mm-hmm.
the nail salon. I don't feel
Mm-hmm.
relaxed. I don't feel because that entire time I'm watching the person taking
Right.
care of me to make sure
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So I don't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily feel like I'm in a relaxed space. This is a maintenance for me. It's not necessarily a pamper for me. But
Yeah.
if you think actually self-care and you go and you might be like me, you don't necessarily enjoy it. You'll feel like, well, self-care doesn't work because I don't get anything
Mm-hmm.
out of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's because that's not actually self-care, that's self-pampering. And
Yeah.
so it's okay if you don't feel like the pamperings weren't necessarily working. But caring for yourself, when you start realizing, well, I used to get up not always feeling, happy about the start of my day. But 30 days ago, I started just every time I get up, the first thing I listen to is something positive. I don't turn on the TV, I don't look at my phone, but I just listen to something positive, a
Mm-hmm.
podcast. And I notice now I wake up feeling a lot lighter. I wake up feeling a little bit happier. That's because you're retraining your brain. That's because you're preserving yourself. That's because
Yeah.
you're doing the work. And so that's self-care looks like that. And so I think being able to identify what it looks like can help a lot more people feel like they're actually achieving it and it's actually doable.
See, y'all, listen, I knew going into this was gonna be dope, but it is exceeded my expectations. Exceeded my expectations. But Candice, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your wisdom. I'm going to tell you again, thank you for your yes, because we need this. Even now, just I saw, y'all bear with us. Just gonna tell you because I would have been done by now, but whatever. It's my show. Do what I want to do. But I saw something recently where they were saying that we're all experiencing burnout after the panorama, right? Like there's so many
Yeah.
things that are happening, and I feel like what you are doing is so necessary because we don't recognize that people are burnt. People don't recognize they're burning out if you're not aware enough. Like I've burnt out before, so I already know what it looks like. So I'd be like, but for those people who don't know what burnout looks like, binge watch her stuff. I need you to binge watch Candace's videos, reels, all of her content, because you will recognize what it is that you're actually going through without even knowing that you're going through it. I saw something else recently. It was like, unclench your jaw, relax your shoulders, and breathe. Right. And
Yep.
even for me, I saw it and I was just like, it's my jaw. And I was like, dang, it is. And but I know enough that I'm mindful but
Yep.
even in that moment when I was reading it, I was like, oh, sorry, let me get myself together. Even with the breathing part, right? Like we spent 2 years in a mask. And I even now people don't realize that. I guarantee you, if you go into a certain, especially now during this winter season, y'all. We're in the winter season as we're recording this. You holding your breath when you go into these stores, even if you have a mask on. I guarantee you're holding your breath. So that's why you feel like you're about to pass out in the store
Yeah.
because you're not breathing. And I even had to learn that, like even under the mask, I am intentionally taking deep breaths. I'm intentionally being present and like not letting my mind go all over the place. And I'll be just fine. But we
Right.
didn't know those things that like you said, that self-regulation, those different things that we have to learn. Is y'all
Yeah.
venture stuff. So, Candice, where can they find your stuff? Where can they connect with you, and find all of your content?
Yeah, so I hang out on Instagram, as I like to tell people. You can always find me on Instagram at Candice Denise, Candice, Denise, common spelling. And on TikTok, you can also find me. You just need to put a B and a Y in front of the Candice Denise. And so I'm by Candice Denise over there on TikTok. So you can always
Mm.
find me on both of those platforms. And if you're ever trying to find what's going on and what do I have as far as, just offerings and things, you can click any of those links in either bio on Instagram or TikTok, and they will show you what's happening and what I've got going on and all those things.
Yes. Well, y'all already know the links will be in the show notes so y'all can get connected with her. Again, Candice, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for sharing. Thank you again for your yes. And I can't wait until we collaborate again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. This has been awesome. I appreciate it.
Oh, you are so welcome. All right, Slayers, until next week. See ya. All right, y'all, that's all for this week. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to share, subscribe, rate, and review. Remember to head over to Facebook and Instagram and follow me at Slaying Self Doubt. Oh, wait, don't forget, go to my YouTube channel and watch this episode, and remember to press the subscribe button. Until next week, see ya.